Your non-throwing arm is a lot more important than you think.
Nice.
That's what we're talking about. Come on. Come on. Let's go.
Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, be sure to go to our website and check out our free javelin course. This is where I'll answer all your questions from javelin technique, nutrition, to physical preparation. Hey guys, I'm Dan Labadia, the owner of jacked.javelin, and I'm gonna be going over the importance of the lead arm in the javelin throw. So in this video, I'm a right-handed thrower, so I try to use the terminology lead arm and throwing arm, but if I slip up, if I say left arm or right arm, just know that that's because my left arm is my lead arm and my right arm is my throwing arm. So as a javelin thrower, you're obviously going to be very focused on your throwing arm. The arm path, throwing over the top, protecting your elbow, your shoulder, throwing through the point, all of those things are super important for the javelin, and everyone fixates on the throwing arm. So I'm gonna teach you today how you can use your non-throwing arm to help fix your mechanics, and some of those things that you might be struggling with might actually be fixed using your non-throwing arm. So you might be focusing on the wrong thing. So with that being said, it's very important to note that the throwing arm mimics the lead arm. Why that's so important is because as a javelin thrower, we want to keep our throwing arm as long and as far back behind us as possible. That's going to cause us to get a longer pull on the javelin, and the longer pull, the more velocity we could get into the throw. So by leaving our lead arm out in front of us, that'll allow our throwing arm to stay long behind. What happens is a lot of times throwers will pull their lead arm in, and then that causes their throwing arm to shorten and tighten. So then, instead of their pull being long out like this, it then becomes short and condensed like this. That being said, a lot of times too, you have a little bit of rotation in the javelin throw. So throwers will swipe and pull across their body with their lead arm, and then that causes their right arm to then swipe, and then they throw across their body with their throwing arm, and that could disrupt the flight of the javelin. So instead of the javelin going nice and straight, you are going to then have the javelin swipe across and fly a little sideways. So a lot of that time that you're struggling with throwing through the point or throwing over the top or having a longer pull, that a lot of times actually is a result of what the lead arm is doing. So since the throwing arm mimics the lead arm, what we want to do is, we always hear about throwing over the top, rolling under the javelin, using our chest and our lats when we throw, but how do we actually do that? The way we do that is by simulating that corkscrew drill that some of you guys may know about, that I've talked about on my channel. When you have the lead arm out in front of you and the throwing arm behind you, since they mimic each other, we'll keep the non-throwing arm long and roll it down. So this right here is then engaging our lat. Okay, so we're rolling down with the left side, and then what does that do with the right side? Is that allows us to roll up, okay? So you're gonna roll down with the left, and then that allows the right to roll up. Down with the lead arm, up with the throwing arm. Down with the lead arm, up with the throwing arm. So we're still staying long, but that rolling aspect is coming from the scaps and coming from the lats. So what that's doing is that's allowing us to stay long, and we're not creeping in like this, but we're rolling, okay? So we're rolling the scaps here and rolling the lats. For me, the left lat is gonna roll down, the right lat is gonna roll up. That's how you're gonna get maximal pull on the throw, but then be able to access the chest and the lat powering the throw and getting into that layback and keeping that long pull like we talked about. And then as the throw occurs, obviously the lead arm will then come down to the side eventually, and the throwing arm will come through into external rotation, and then the throw will occur. So with that being said, the timing of the left arm is also very important, because you see a lot of times people will end up, when we have the penultimate back foot contact and then block, okay, a lot of times you'll see maybe on the penultimate, the thrower won't get their lead arm across their body enough. That's not generating enough power into the penultimate. On back foot contact, what happens is, since their arm might be late on the penultimate, then they end up landing closed on back foot contact. And when you land closed on back foot contact, then that causes you to have to rip the left side open, and then you have to swipe across your body really, really late, and then that causes your right arm to swipe across your body and throw like we talked about. And so that could lead to a lot of insufficiencies in your technique in terms of how you release the javelin and your lower body's power as well. And then the block as well. We want to keep that left arm rolling down. And so the way that I explain the throw is our throwing side needs to be passive so that it's relaxed and energy can free flow through the throwing side, but the block side needs to be active. So with that being said, the block leg and the block arm both need to be active. And so when you're here in that throwing motion, when you're pronated and then you supinate down, right when you supinate with the lead arm, and you're rolling that lat down, that lat should be active. And we should almost be trying to flex that lat right at the point of the block so that at the same time that the left lat uncoils and supinates, you are flexing the lat, and then right when that happens, the block leg is hitting the ground, and you're doing the same thing with the block leg. Either, there's a bunch of different ways to get into the block, which we could get into a different video, but essentially you want to make sure that your timing of the block is the same as when you're supinating that lead arm. So you're uncoiling and flexing here, okay? That way the arm needs to be out in front of you, reaching out in front of you, right when the block is about to happen, so that when you supinate actively with the left arm, the left leg is also hitting the ground actively at the same time. You don't want to hit your block actively and then supinate the arm late, or you don't want to supinate the arm and rip the arm down early before the block hits. So the timing needs to be in sync where the lead arm is supinating actively, and right when it supinates actively, you're flexing the lat, and right when you flex the lat, your block leg is hitting the ground at the same time. When you're gonna go through the last 3 steps of the throw, your left arm needs to be a key indicator. So when you're in the penultimate, your lead arm is gonna be across your body, and then on back foot contact, it's gonna be out in front of you, okay? So it goes from here to then here, and then on the block, it's gonna supinate. So when we go through, that phase is 3 steps. The left arm is moving with each step. Just like in your approach, every single step you take, your lead arm is gonna be moving like we've talked about in all my approach videos. Your lead arm is going to be moving in sync with your feet. So every step, your lead arm is gonna be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then the same thing in the final 3 steps of the throw. Each one of those steps, the left arm is doing something different. So penultimate, you're going across your body, and then on back foot contact, you're reaching out in front, and then on the block, you're supinating down actively. So that timing and that synchronization of the left arm with your steps in the last 3 steps of the throw and your penultimate back foot contact and then block, that's essential to have that timing down of that lead arm. So what drills are best to improve this? Okay, so doing the corkscrew drill and doing the 3-position drill without throwing and with throwing are going to be key for you to get this down, okay? So with the corkscrew drill, there's 3 different variations you could do. There's a variation where you're holding on to the front of the javelin and just rolling down and then rolling up. So you're practicing that idea of rolling the left arm, rolling the right arm, or rolling the lead arm and then rolling the throwing arm. You're using that hand on the javelin to really feel that supination, okay? Then once you get used to that feeling, you'll take your hand off and you can just do the corkscrew drill, right arm long behind you, throwing arm long behind you, and then lead arm long in front of you. And you're doing that supination, feeling the scaps, feeling the lats moving, and feeling the idea of long arm and both sides. Then from there, you'll be able to do that position. So we'll do like 3 reps, and then on the 3rd rep, you could then take a throw out of it. So then you start to feel with that timing of the left arm, feel the timing of the left arm supinating down actively into the block. Feel that idea of the throwing side being passive and relaxed, and then getting your back hip engaged, and then supinating the throwing arm and then throwing over the top. Just to recap there, you got the corkscrew drill, hand on, no throw, hand off, no throw, and then hand off with a throw, okay? And then the 3-position drill. During the 3-position drill, the idea is to go from, all right, you have the corkscrew drill down, now you're gonna practice the 3 positions of the penultimate back foot contact and block. But during this phase, I want you to focus on the timing of the left arm. So when you are in the penultimate, you're not just thinking penultimate, back foot contact, block. So think about it with your lead arm. So on the penultimate, my lead arm is going to be across, and then on back foot contact, my arm is moving out in front of me, and then on the block, my arm is supinating down. So you could think about it in two ways. You could think about that in terms of, you know, your lower half and in terms of hitting the proper corkscrew drill and getting a long pull. But then if you're specifically focusing on using your lead arm, that timing during that drill is going to be essential, because then that'll have you have those nice crisp positions through the release and follow through. That is essential to hit a good position in the javelin and make sure that you're using the proper body parts when you throw, like your hips and your chest and your lats, and not relying on your elbow and shoulder. So those drills right there are super important. And like I said, you know, thinking about them in different ways and manipulating, doing them with the throw, without the throw. These are very low intensity drills that you could do a lot of that have a very high return on investment. A lot of throwers want to go out there and throw hard all the time, and they try to implement new techniques and new principles when they're throwing max effort, and that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is by dialing it down, understanding what you're doing, being very intentional about what you're doing, and implementing it in a low intensity drill that you could do every day of the week, and it won't hurt your body. So that's how you're going to be able to improve a lot, is just make a plan, know what you're trying to work on, execute on it daily, and yeah, that's about it. So let me know if you have any questions. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and follow along for more.